the recording. Only then I can ask the team or remind the team. Okay, fine. So the recording has started. We will discuss on week 2 concepts. So week 2 is all about Cartesian coordinate system and then straight lines. Right? So how do you want this 1 hour to be? Shall I go through all the concepts that were dealt in week 2 along with some examples? Or let it put as a Q&A? Like you ask the question and I will just answer to that particular
Concept and examples.
concept and example. Okay. So what about others? How do you want? Shall I go through? I will just quickly go through the concepts with examples. Or since there are only 5 people, I can actually we can actually have a one-to-one conversation and I will just clear your doubts. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I will just go through the concepts then. Give me a minute. I will just share my screen. Is my screen visible? Yes, right. Yeah. So as I said, week 2 is all about straight lines, majorly straight lines, but we start with talking about the rectangular coordinate system, which we also call it as XY plane or Cartesian coordinate system. So all these three are the same. Okay, so what exactly is this system? It's an plane which contains two axes. One is called x-axis and the other another one is called y-axis. X-axis will be horizontal line which you see here, and y-axis is a vertical line. So this is x-axis and this is y-axis. And then the point at which these two axes intersect is called origin. And any point you pick on this particular plane, any point like this, it has two coordinates. The first coordinate is called x coordinate. The second one is called y coordinate. It will be like a pair. 3 comma 4. Here 3 comma 4 denotes the x coordinate of this point is 3 and the y coordinate of this point is 4. And what does this 3 and 4 represent actually? So this point is 3 units far from origin via x-axis and 4 units far from the origin on y-axis. So you move 3 units on the x-axis and then move 4 units on the y-axis, you reach this point. Okay. So similarly, you pick any other point, it will be associated with two coordinates. Okay. And the signs of these coordinates vary uh, depending upon the position of the point and its respective quadrant. So here you can see this x-axis and y-axis divides the complete plane into four quadrants. So this is called quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So all the points in quadrant 1 will have both the coordinates as positive values. So any point you choose, this will have any point x comma y. This x comma y, both x and y will be greater than 0. Okay, so x will be greater than 0, also y will be greater than 0. On the other hand, if you choose any point in quadrant 2, you see quadrant 2 is this, and if you choose any point, the x coordinate will be negative and the y coordinate will be positive. Similarly, quadrant 3, all the points in quadrant 3 will have both the coordinates negative. Quadrant 4, x will be positive and y will be negative. Okay. So, yeah. And x-axis is also called as abscissa. So, it's just a technical name. Okay. Y-axis is called ordinate. So, again, the signs are given here just to make sure things should not go wrong. So, quadrant 1, both the coordinates are positive. Quadrant 2, x-axis is negative, x coordinate is negative, y coordinate is positive. Quadrant 3, both the coordinates are negative. Quadrant 4, x is positive, y is okay. So this is the xy plane or Cartesian coordinate plane or the rectangular coordinate plane system. Okay. So now that we know there are points on xy plane, now if you choose any 2 points and try to measure the distance between these 2 points. Okay, for example, here itself, this is a point 3 comma 4. But how far is 3 comma 4 from the origin compared to minus 5 comma 1? So this point and this point, you see point P, point Q, and the origin here. So how do we decide whether P is nearer to origin or Q is nearer to origin? So for that we need a measure. So that measure is called the distance. So we compute the distance between the points, and whichever has the smallest distance, that is nearer to the origin. So similarly, you can compute the distance between any 2 points, not only from origin to some other point. You can compute the distance from one point on the xy plane to any other point on the xy plane. And how do we compute that? So if you have any 2 points x1, y1, x2, y2, the distance is actually between these 2 points is actually square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. And proof of this is also very, very simple. So you have 2 points x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2. So there will be an origin. So this represents, this is x1, this is x2, right? So that means you construct a right angle triangle such that this is x1 and this is x2. So this side length will be x2 minus x1. Similarly, since this is y1, this will be y1 and this will be y2. Okay, so without loss of generality, I just took both the points on the positive quadrant. This works for any points. So it may not be in quadrant 1, it can be quadrant 2, quadrant 3, anywhere it can be, but more or less the same. So this side length now will be y2 minus y1. Now this is the distance d. Now you see this is a right angle triangle, and we know for a right angle triangle, the hypotenuse square will be equal to sum of squares of the other two sides. So d square will be x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. So we want d, we just want distance, we don't want d square. So you just take the square. That's it. Okay. So I think this is okay, I guess. Any doubt in this?
No, sir.
No? Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of questions. I shouldn't show the solution. Okay. So there are 2 points. You can just use that distance formula and you can compute the distance. Since the first question you already have seen the solution. So identify what x1, x2, y1, y2s are. So here x1 is 2, y1 is 4, x2 is -4, y2 is 12. So we have all x1, x2, y1, y2. Just substitute them in the formula we know. If you substitute and simplify, you will get 10 as the answer. Okay. So now we have another question like this. So try this. So there are 2 points given to us, -3 comma y and 1 comma 4, and y is not known. So y is a variable now, which is the coordinate of the y coordinate of the first point. But what we know, the distance between these 2 points is 5 units. So the distance we know now. So d is known, x1 is known, x2 is known, y2 is known. We have to find y1. Can you all compute it quickly? Use the formula and just try to compute.
Sir, 10.
Okay, 10 again. So what about others? You can also post in the chat if you don't
Yeah,
want to unmute
it's
it. 10. Okay. Okay. So here also nothing changes except the information given is slightly different from the previous question, and what we have to find is different. Previous question we asked you to find the distance, but in this question we are asking you to find y2. But we will use the same formula, but this time what we know, the distance we know. Oh, okay. So both of you got 10, but things look a bit weird here. Okay. So I think you would have done some minus plus wrong. You can cross check it here. So we know x1, which is -3. We don't know y1, which is what we have to find. It is given as y. X2 is 1, y2 is 1. And if you use the formula, that will be x2 minus x1. So 1 minus of -3, which is 4 whole square, plus y2 minus y1, which is 4 minus y whole square. So that will be square root 16 plus 4 minus y whole square. So this is square root 16 plus 4 minus y whole square. So now this is equal to 5 units is what given in the question. So now we equate that to this. So if this is the equation, you just square it on both sides. Then what we will get, so this is 5. If you square on both sides, you will get 16 plus 4 minus y whole square is equals to 25. Now you take this 16 to the right hand side, then it will become 4 minus y whole square is equals to 9. Now the slightly trickier part comes into the picture. Now if you take the square root on both sides, then there will be plus or minus coming into the picture. Okay. So this 4 minus y, or think of this like this. Which thing you should square in order to get 9? So what all possible integers that can be squared which will give me 9? So if I square 3, that will give me 9, as well as if I square -3, that will also give me 9. So 4 minus y can be 3, or 4 minus y can be -3. So that is what it is given here. So 4 minus y can be 3 plus 3 or -3. So if you choose plus 3, then y will be 1. If you choose -3, then y will be 7. 4 minus of -3 gives me 7. So why is this? Why there are 2 points that are equidistant from 1 comma 4? For this, you can actually draw an xy plane roughly. So if you draw this and plot 1 comma 4, so let's say 1 is this, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is this. Okay. So let's say this is 1 comma 4. Now this is 1 comma 4. But you see this minus 3 comma y. You know the x coordinate of this point, which is minus 3. So you can, so this is minus 3. But you don't know the y coordinate. That implies that point can be anywhere on this line. Yes or no? Any point you choose in this line, on this line, the x coordinate of that particular point will be minus 3 and there will be some y coordinate. Now you see from this point and you have a point here which has 5 units distance. So one point can lie here. Okay, one point can lie here and the other point can lie on the other side such that this can be 5 units as well as this can be 5. Okay. So that's the intuition. If you have this geometric intuition, then you can easily observe that minus 3 comma 1 and minus 3 comma 7. So these 2 points are 5 units away from 1 comma 4. Okay. So that's the logic behind y can take 2 values instead of only one possible value. Any doubt?
No, sir.
No? Okay, great. So that's about the distance between 2 points. Next comes sections formula, which is basically if you have 2 points and a line joining these 2 points, you have this thing with you, and now you want to divide this line into 2 lines, something like this. Okay, you have a point A, which is x1, y1, and a point B, x2, y2. Now I have a line joining A and B, and there is a new point P, which is x comma y, and this point P divides this whole line into m is to n. M parts will be in A to P and n parts will be in P to B. So what do we mean by m and n parts? So if you have the total length, you divide the total length into m plus n parts. For simpler example, let's take m and n equal to 1. What you do is you have a big line with the 2 points, 2 points A, B. Okay. Now divide this big line into two equal parts. So if I have to divide this big line into 2 equal parts, so I will try to pick the center. I will call it as C, and then this complete line becomes complete line will be broken into 2 equal parts. So this is one part and this is the other. Whereas if I wanted to divide this big AB line, the total AB line into 3 parts. Okay. Into 3 parts, only one cutting. So something you treat it like you have a thread with you, okay, a big thread with you. Now you have to cut that big thread into 2 small threads, okay, where 2 parts goes into one thread and one part goes into another thread. That is, if once you divide it, the 2 threads that you get, one should be half to the other, something like that. So what will you do? You make 3 parts like this. Once you make 3 parts, now you keep 2 parts on one side and the third part on the other side, and you cut here. Okay. Now your cutting point is this. Instead of at the center, you cut it here. Now when you divide this whole line at this point, So this 1 and 1 will become 2 and this will be 1. So now this C divides the line AB in the ratio 2 is to 1. That is what we call. So AC is to CB is 2 is to 1. So what does this mean is the same thing. Just now what we have discussed, that is the thing. So two parts goes into AC region and one part goes to CB. Or in other words, if I have to talk in lengths, CB, the length CB, length of CB, so this length is actually equals to half the length of AB, AC. Okay. So similarly, now you can generalize this. So why only 2, 1? You can divide this into m parts and divide this into n parts. Okay. So that is what this means. Okay. M parts goes into AP and n parts goes into PB. Now the challenge is we have to find the x and y. So we have to find this, but how, what all things we can use? We can use m, n, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. So that's the goal or challenge. Okay. So we have to write x, y in terms of m, n, x1, y1, x2, y2. Again, this also uses the triangle properties. So same angle ACB. So you have similar triangles. So the ratio of the sides will also be similar. We will use it. I'm not proving it because we have very less time. You can try it out. So you can take the triangles and form similar triangles. Okay. So this triangle, this small chota triangle, is similar to this triangle, right? Because the angles will be equal. Now, if they are similar triangles, then the sides ratio will also be equal. So this plus this divided by this should be equals to this divided by this should be equals to this divided by this. So use those and we will finally end up getting this. So finally you will end up getting this. So the x coordinate will be m times x2 plus n times x1 divided by m plus n. Y coordinate will be similarly replace x2 and x1 by y2 y1. So what is this doing? So you have x, if you want to write the x coordinate of this point, this m goes multiplies with this x2, this n comes multiplies this with x1, that will be your numerator, m times x2 plus n times x1 divided by, so how many parts you divide that big line, that will be n plus n. Okay. Similarly, the y coordinate will also be this m goes and multiplies to y2, n comes and multiplies to y1, and if you add those two, that will be your numerator, and the denominator will be again the total number of parts that AB is divided. So that will be the internal cut. So you see this internal means this P will be in between A and B. Okay. So the cutting happens in between A and B. So if that is happening, then the x and y coordinates will be like this. Whereas if P cuts externally, what does now that mean? Now you have AB. Now extend this AB line furthermore such that now you choose one point P where there will be n parts from B to P and m plus n parts from A to P. Okay. Sorry, m parts from A to P. So m parts, n parts, but now P is outside, not in the inside. Okay. So if this is the case, then there will be a minus sign. So now you can see AB is divided into how many parts? So this total is M and there are N parts here. So this will be divided into M minus N parts. Yes or no? So M minus N parts from A to B and N parts from B to P together makes M parts from A to P. Right? So you see the denominator will always be the number of parts that the line AB is divided into. Previously, it is divided into M plus N parts. Here it is divided into M minus N parts. So N going outside takes negative. Therefore, the numerator will also be M times x2 minus N times x1. Even here also the same proof goes. Using the similarity between the triangles, you can prove this also. Okay. So I think you guys have learned this in your class 11 or even in higher schools. Am I right? No?
We have, sir.
Hmm. Great. So this will be like a just refresh of those things. Okay. Now comes solved examples. Now see find the point that divides the line segment P and Q internally in the ratio 1:2. Now you have a point P which is 2 comma 5 and a line, and you have a point Q which is 8 comma 8. Now what we have to find? We have to find a point, some point, let's say R, label it as R. This divides P and Q in the ratio 1:2 internally. So you see this internally. So R will be between P and Q. So now we have M, N, X1, Y1, X2, Y2. You just write it down. That will be better. So M is 1, N is 2, X1 is 2, Y1 is 5, X2 is 8, Y2 is 8. So once you have M, N, X1, Y1, X2, Y2, you just have to use the formula. So if you use the formula, you will get the X coordinate and Y coordinate separate, which will be 4 comma 6. Hence 4 comma 6 divides the given line segment PQ internally in the ratio 1:2. Now, can you all solve the next question, which is find the coordinates of the midpoint of the points P and Q. So when I say midpoint, how will the midpoint divide the whole line segment PQ? In which ratio will it divide?
1:1.
1:1. So from the midpoint, we can get the values of M and N, which are 1 and 1. Now, can you all quickly solve this? So that you can take it as a hint now. So the midpoint divides 2 points in the ratio 1:1. So this is M for you.
Sir,
Kindly put
1 by 2 comma 0.
1 by 2 comma 0. So let me put it as option here. Okay. So Atendran says 1 by 2 comma 0. Just take a minute. Just put it in the formula. That's it. So if you don't want to unmute, you can also post it in the chat, so that I will also get to know that you guys are listening. Okay, or else, as of now, I'm feeling like I'm just teaching to an white wall.
Sir, 2 comma 0.
2 comma 0. Okay. So that will be my option B. So you can, this is for others. You can also tell your answers, whatever you are getting. It may be wrong, but you will get to learn. Okay. So nobody is who is here going to judge you. Okay. That I can promise
Sir,
you.
Sir, it is 2 comma 0, sir, not half comma 0.
Okay, so now option A also merges to option B. There is no option A. So two of you have answered and both of you answered it as 2 comma 0. Are there any answers from anybody? Jayashree, Magesh, Sahitya, Ramu, Srivinisha. No? Okay, fine. Let's see. Let's see. So we just have to substitute these values m, and x1, x2, y1, y2. That's it. So identifying what is x1, what is y1, what is x2, what is y2, and what are m and n's is the key. After that, you straight away have your formula and just substitute those values there. If you do that, you will get 2 comma 0. So this is just the substitution. I'm not going through it. So you will get 2 comma 0. Okay. So that's about sections formula. So it is connected to the line segment, and a point divides the line segment into some ratio. Okay. And primarily, we will not focus on the external cut. Our primary focus will only be on internal cut. So whenever we say uh, some other point cutting a line, we intentionally mean that it is internal cut, not the external cut. Okay. So external cut we just gave you for your understanding, for your learning purpose, and we are not going to test you on external cuts. Okay. So if we move to the next topic is, we just saw previous two sections just dealt with 2 points and the line joining the 2 points. We saw the distance between those 2 points, and then some other point comes in between and divides that line into some parts that we saw. Now next comes 3 points. Okay. So with 3 points, we can form a triangle. How? What you have to do is, if you have 3 points, you just draw from one point to the other 2 points and connect them by a straight line. This you have to do it for every point. So if you go to this point, this line is already there to this point. The missing line is this. So you connect all the points by straight lines. This will form a triangle. And if you have 3 points like x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, then the area of this triangle ABC is given by this formula. Again, we can prove this formula. We somehow start from origin, distances, and then make small rectangles. Okay, and finally compute the area. So again, I'm not going through the. You can get it from online also. You just go Google, ask what is the proof of area of a triangle. That will show you. There are multiple proofs. There are very complex proofs also, but proof is not required. You just have to convince yourself that this formula works. But the only catch is you have to fix which point. So for example, you are choosing 3 points like this. You have to fix what is your x1, what is your y1, what is your x2, what is your y2, what is your x3, what is your y3. So if you are fixing your x1 as 0 and y1 as 0 or 10, then till the last step of your computation, you should fix x1 as 0 and y1 as 10. So you should not interchange in between. Okay. So something like this, you choose x1 here as 0, but later when you progress here, you cannot choose x3 again as 0. Or in other words, you have chosen x1 as this, y1 as this. The last point you started by taking x1 and y1. So now your x1 is 10, your y1 is 30. Okay, so that is different from if you choose x1 as 0 and y1 as 10. Okay, so understand this point. So when you have 3 points and if you want to use this formula, then decide which one is your first point, which one is your second point, and which one will be your third point. After fixing that, then you write down what are x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 for your case. It will not be same for every other. Okay, so someone can choose q as the first point, p as the second point, r as the third point. That is also valid. Ultimately, if you choose in any order, you will finally get the same answer. The area will be the same. Okay, but the way in which you choose your x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3 should be carefully chosen. Okay, so if you use, so that is what you for us, without loss of generality, I'm taking this as x1, this as y1. So here if x1 is 0, here your y1 should be 10. It should not be something like minus 30 or 30. Okay, be very careful about this. So if your x1 is 0, your y1 should be 10. Then comes x2, y2. Yeah. Any doubt?
No.
Okay. Okay. So if you choose x2 as minus 20, then your y2 is minus 30. That's it. You cannot change. So you should carefully choose x2 as minus 20. Now your y2s, so here y1 is 10. Your y2s will be minus 30. Okay, you cannot choose 30 there. Okay, so have this x1 y1 pair consistent till your final step of your computation. So finally choose this as x3 y3. So y3 will be 30 for you and x3 will be 10 for you. Okay, and also this order is also important. So x1 is getting multiplied to y2 minus y3. x2 will be getting multiplied to y3 minus y1. x3 will be multiplying to y1 minus y2. Okay, so y1 minus y2 will get multiplied to x3. y2 minus y3 will get multiplied to x1. y3 minus y1 will get multiplied to x2. Again, if you change anything, you will end up getting the wrong one. Okay, and why we take modulus? We just take modulus because area should always be positive. This you see, right? You see something here, right? Some region, right? So this region, area, volume, all these are positive quantities. So this is positive. Area is positive. Okay, so that is why we choose modulus. And I am pretty much sure, even though you are very careful about these things, at least 50 to 60% of the people will forget to multiply half in the starting. So that is also crucial. Or you will get the double the area. Yeah. Any doubt?
Sir, the answer for the first one is 70.
Okay, so we will go there. Good. While we were discussing itself, you have solved it. Are there anybody who have solved the first question? Okay, so first question I will just walk you through. So you have 3 points given for us and we have to compute the area of the triangle. Again, choosing x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 is the key. After that, you have the formula. Substitute them in the formula. So we are getting 0 here. Why 0? Is there any mistake or let's go through it. So x1 we have taken it as 0. So 0 times anything is 0. So you don't have to bother about this term. This is gone. This will be 0 only. Now x2 is minus 20, y3 is 30, y1 is 10. So minus 20 times 20, it is minus 400. And x3 is 10, y1 is 10, minus y2 is minus 30. So 10 minus of minus 30, again 40 times 10 is 400. So minus 400 plus 400 is 0. So why is this 0? Again, when can area be 0? So if you have points like this, so let me just try to be accurate. So you have a point 0 comma 10, and you have a point 10 comma 30. Maybe this shouldn't be 0 comma 10. Let's say this is 0 comma 10. If this is 0 comma 10, then this will be 10 comma 30, and there is minus 20 comma minus 30. If you carefully observe, all these 3 points lie on the same line. Right?
Yes, sir, I found my mistake.
So if they lie on a straight line, we call those 3 points as collinear points. Okay, so what does collinear means? Collinearity means all 3 points lie on the same line. If they are lying on the same line, there will not be any triangle. So you cannot form any triangle with these 3 points. Right? So that's the issue. So if we cannot form a triangle, then the area of the triangle will be 0. So what we can imply is collinearity implies, so you have collinearity. So if PQR are collinear, then the area will be 0. Okay. Same goes on the other side. If area is 0, if you choose any 3 points and you compute the area, if the area is 0, then it implies that those 3 points are collinear. It works in both ways. Collinear implies area of those 3 points are 0. If area of those 3 points are 0, then those 3 points are collinear. Again, collinear term is just a technical term. Okay, so collinearity means all 3 points are on the straight line, on a straight line, single straight line. Okay, that's it. Now the next question is bit harder compared to the first question. Okay, so this will involve both usage of both area formula as well as the sections formula. So the question is like this: what is the area of the triangle formed by the midpoints of the line segments PQ, QR, and RP, where the coordinates of PQR are 0, 0, 4, 0, 4, 3 respectively? So what is the question talking about is, we have been given PQR points, but we don't want the area of the triangle PQR. Instead, what we want is, so PQ will have a midpoint, QR will have a midpoint, RP will also have a midpoint. So now take those 3 midpoints. So those 3 midpoints are 3 points now, and compute the area of the midpoints, area of the triangle formed by the midpoint. Okay, so that's the question. So this should be solved in 2 steps. The first step would be identifying the midpoints, right? So you need the midpoints, label them as some A, B, C, points A, B, C, and get the midpoints. After you get the midpoints, now they are your x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. Okay. So will you guys do this later? I will just show you the answer, but try this after the session or whenever you got time. Try this. Okay. So I just have to move because we have only 10 minutes to go. Or shall I just discuss the solution of this question, and maybe in the next session on Saturday, we will talk about straight lines. Will that be all right, or shall I just proceed to straight lines? I will leave it to you
Next
guys.
session we'll study straight lines.
Okay. If that is
Sir,
the
is the
thing, then
answer minus 3 by 2?
mine. I told you, Atendran, area should always be positive.
Sorry, sir, 3 by 2.
Okay, so you say it is 3 by 2. Okay, okay. So the others also please try. Let's try doing this problem, and we can end the session for today. And on Saturday, we can discuss about straight lines. Okay. So yeah, one option I already got. It is 1.5 or 3 by 2. Sorry, that is it. For this particular question, option A is 1.5. Okay, so try this out. I urge everybody to try this out. Again, the hint is first identify the midpoints. How do you identify the midpoints? Use the sections formula. Using the sections formula, you should identify the midpoints. Once you get the midpoints, then the three midpoints will be your 3 points for the triangle. Now they will be your x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. Then take the formula and substitute. Okay, so take some 3 minutes because we still have 9 more minutes. So around 6:54, we will start discussing the solution, and by the time by the time we reach 7, we can end the session. Okay, so I hope everybody are trying it. If not, you just let me know. I can directly discuss the solution. I just got one answer from Atendran. Maybe 2 or 3 more answers is what I expect.
I have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
What is the value that will be for like M1 and M2, that ratio? How
Ah,
should we take the value?
okay. So midpoint. So what is the property of midpoint? How will it divide any given line?
Center point. So
Center
like 1
point, right?
comma 0 will be the M1 and M2.
1 comma.
1 or 4, so that Q value.
Sorry. What is? Sorry, I'm not getting what you're trying to say. So see, these are the 3 points, right? Let's say that is like this. If I draw the diagram, then that will be much more easier. So I'm not drawing it to the scale. So you have 0 comma 0. You have the other point 4 comma 0. You have 4 comma 3. Right? You have these 3 points given to you, which are P, Q, and R. Right? Now, what will be the midpoint of PQ? Somewhere here. Exactly divides PQ in the ratio of 1:1. So the length from this point to midpoint and the length from midpoint to this point, both are equal. So if they are equal, they are dividing it in the ratio 1:1.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So m and n values will be 1 and 1. Similarly, it will stand for all other also. So this midpoint will divide PR into 1:1 ratio. This midpoint will divide RQ into 1:1 ratio. Now label this point as A, this point as B, this point as C. Get these coordinates. So I will label it as x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. So get x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 using the sections formula. Okay, and using sections formula we can get it. Once you get that, you have your 3 points, and if you form a triangle using these 3 points ABC, this is what we need. Area of this triangle. And now use the area formula and get this green region area.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. So okay. So it's already 6:55. So just listen to my explanation and then later you just sit and solve it. Okay? So if you just listen to my explanation, it may feel like you understood the things, but for mathematics, I will definitely tell you to practice more rather than listening. Okay. So let us go through the solution. So the midpoints of PQ, QR, RP using the sections formula, we will get them as 2, 0, 4, 1.5 and 2, 1.5. So you see 0, 0 and 4, 0. Both lie on x-axis. Okay. So both lies on x-axis and the midpoint will be 2, 0 because 2 units from origin to this point, and from 2, 0 to 4, 0 will also be 2 units. Therefore, 2, 0 will be the midpoint. Similarly, 4, 1.5, 2, 1.5 are these points. So we have got ABC values, sorry, ABC points. Now your x1 will be 2, y1 will be 0, x2 will be 4, y2 will be 1.5, x3 will be 2, y3 will be 1. Now use the formula. When you use the formula, we will ultimately get. So simplify it, substitute, simplify, we will get 1.5 as the. Okay. So now by looking at this, it may look easy, but try this out. Is 2, 0 correct or not? Check. 4, 1.5 is correct or not? Check it. 2, 1.5 is correct or not? Then substitute it and simplify this. Okay, simplify these things also. And finally check whether you are getting 1.5 square units or not. So the units will be squared units. So area will always be squared units. But you don't worry, in mathematics, we won't test you on units. So we more test you on the value. So the 1.5 is sufficient for us. Okay. So the square units is just to make sure that things are proper. So it should make sense. Right. So area is denoted as square units. So you cannot say 1.5 kilometers. Right. Area cannot be represented in kilometers. So for that particular purpose, we just mention the units. Okay. So the next 2.5 is straight lines. Maybe on Saturday we will just start discussion on the slope, all these things, different forms, parallel, perpendicular. Finally, we will talk about sum squared error. Okay. So the only difficult concept in this whole thing would be for you is sum squared error. So maybe we will focus more on the sum squared error than sticking to the starting phase like slope and all those things. Okay. All right then. With that, we will be ending this particular session here, and we will meet you guys on Saturday. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I didn't able to attempt the week one assignments for maths.
Why is that?
Before I attend itself, it got ended and it says the due date is on 9th, but actually it is 12th, right?
Due date will be on Sunday, right? For school connect, for your school connect.
Sunday.
Oh, Sundays are the deadlines, right?
Sir, but in the message in WhatsApp I got from IIT as 12th.
See, I think you are also added to many other programs also, like the regular IITM DS, IITM DS in DS qualifier batch. So if you are added to that particular thing, for them it is 12th. For your school connect, Sundays will be the deadline. Maybe I will just talk to the team. This confusion arose and you kind of missed the submission. I will talk to the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Uh, I'm not sure about that. Can I get your mail ID or anything?
Yes, sir.
Which mail ID? Huh?
Srivinisha2006 at gmail.com.
This is the mail ID you gave for us, right? So when we
Yeah. Yes,
give
sir.
this mail ID, all the details of you will be visible, right?
Yes, sir.
So just a second, just a second. I will just stop the
I
recordings
just
and
had
all.
a doubt that whether